A woman with a basket of eggs finds that if she removes the eggs from the basket 3 or 5 at a time, there's always 1 egg left. However, if she removes the eggs 7 at a time, there are no eggs left. If the basket holds up to 100 eggs, how many eggs does she have? So we can translate the removing of 3 and 5 eggs at a time as dividing that quantity by 3 or 5 and getting a remainder of 1. And having no eggs in the basket, if we remove 7 at a time, we could interpret that as the quantity in the basket divided by 7 gives me a remainder of 0. Maximum number of eggs is going to be 100. Notice this. If I divide 7 by 3, I get a remainder of 1. If I divide 7 by 2, I get a remainder of 1. I could say these two things by saying divide 7 by 6. But where does the 6 come from? All you have to multiply are these two numbers. 3 times 2 is 6. And you divide that 7 by 6, you're going to get a remainder of 1. So the 6 represents the 3 and the 2 at the same time. Makes it simpler. So going back to our word problem, if you remove 3 or 5 eggs at a time, that means you're going to divide by 3 or 5. That would be the same thing as dividing by 15. 3 times 5 is 15. You still get a remainder of 1. Now, this that you see here is just a description of these divisions. X equals 3 times q sub 1 plus 1. X equals 3 times q sub 1 plus 1. X equals 5 times q sub 2 plus 1. X equals 5 times q sub 2 plus 1. So if you divide by 15, it'll be x equals 15 times q plus 1. We're going to use this in answering the question. The part where we divide and get a remainder of 0 is this one. So there's a quantity of eggs, and we're dividing by 7, and the remainder is 0. So x equals 7 times q plus 0. X equals 7 times q plus 0. Now let's put it all together. So removing eggs in 3s and 5s is represented by this equation. So what we're going to do with this now is going to trial and error, start replacing the q with some numbers and producing a quantity of eggs in the basket. We don't know how many eggs are in the basket. So you let q equal some number. Let's start off with q equal 3. That would make 46 eggs in the basket. So this 46 can be divided by 3 and 5 and get a remainder of 1. So all we have to do now is test. If I divide the 46 by a 7, if I get a remainder of 0. If I do, that's the number we want. So notice if you divide 46 by 7, you get 6.6. So we don't get a remainder of 0. Now let q equal 6. That gives us 91 eggs. We're still within the limit of 100. Remember, we can't go above 100. Now, if you divide 91 by 7, you get a remainder of 0. So 91 is the number that can be divided by 3 and 5 and get a remainder of 1, and divide by 7 and get a remainder of 0. So all 3 requirements are met with 91. If you try going further on the q, that will give you 106 eggs, which goes beyond the limit of 100. So the number of eggs in the basket would have to be 91.